Earlier this year, we made our first ever visit to European amusement parks. During that 2-week trip, we went to 4 parks: Jardin d'Acclimatation, Parc Asterix, Plopsaland de Pan, and Walibi, Belgium. Each park offered an incredible atmosphere, and most of them had at least one top-notch world-class roller coaster. Some of the coasters we rode on this trip are widely considered some of the best in the world, and some of these coasters cracked our top 25 and even our top 10. Which coasters were the best from our first European coaster adventure though? Find out as we rank the 15 best roller coasters we have ridden in Europe. Kicking off this ranking is the very first roller coaster we rode in Europe, the Gerstlauer bobsled Les Rockets. This family roller coaster was a genuine surprise. It had some great airtime moments, some fun twists and turns, and some good laterals. Les Rockets' many double down first drop and banked airtime hill were definitely the ride's standout moments. This coaster is just so much fun and Jardin d'Acclimatation's best roller coaster. It was also a great first impression of the quality of European roller coasters. From one Gerstlauer bobsled to another, the number 14 spot goes to Tiki Watka at Walibi, Belgium. Tiki Watka feels similar to Les Rockets, though it is faster and the drops are slightly larger. It also has an incredible setting in the park, with one half of the ride flying over the pathways of the Exotic World section and the other half flying over and around water. While it does not have any noticeable airtime, Tiki Watka's overall ride experience makes the ride a fun experience and one of the better rides in the park. The number 13 spot goes to La Trace du Aura, the Mock Rides bobsled coaster at Parc Asterix. If you have done Reptilian at King's Dominion, you have a general idea of what this ride experience is like, as there is no real track. Rather, there is a trough-like coaster track, and this ride experience is awesome. While it may not be the smoothest, given a slight vibration, La Trace du Aura flies through its fairly long layout. It whips through helices and high-speed turns. This coaster also has a great location in the park as it interacts with the nearby roller coaster. Now, coming in at number 12 is Calamity Mine, the Vekoma Mine Train at Walibi, Belgium. This roller coaster had some surprising moments, including a couple of good airtime pops, somewhat good forces during the helices, and great theming. While not quite ejector, Calamity Mine's airtime is a little more strong floater. That bunny hop right in the middle of the ride is awesome, especially while sitting in the front row. And the ride's theming is great as the train weaves in and around rockwork. There are also some great water effects on the ride, including a waterfall and geysers that go off when the train passes over them. In addition to the ride experience and the theming, Calamity Mine is a spectacle to watch. Walibi Belgium's operations are so good, especially when the operators get into a rhythm, that you will see some dueling rides with two trains flying past each other. While it is a good family roller coaster, Calamity Mine just lacks the additional thrill elements that the rest of the coasters in this ranking have. And the first of those coasters, and just missing the top 10, is Loop Guru, a Vekoma wooden roller coaster at Walibi, Belgium. This roller coaster has an incredibly promising layout, which offers some great laterals, good airtime, and a fairly long ride duration. Since this coaster is an old school Vekoma though, Loop Guru is not the smoothest roller coaster out there. While there is definitely some jackhammering, the trains absorb a good amount of it, making the ride more enjoyable. As for the airtime, Loop Guru has some good moments of floater airtime, especially after the second turnaround. So it is easy to see how this roller coaster has not been RMC'd yet, though it would be interesting to see Loop Guru as an RMC, especially since its layout is so promising. Now, from a rough wooden roller coaster to a smoother one, Heidi the Ride at Plopsaland de Pan kicks off the top 10. Unlike Loop Guru, Heidi the Ride is incredibly smooth, which gives it the edge. Aside from smoothness, Heidi the Ride has some good moments, starting with the banked airtime hills after the first drop. The front row gives good pops of airtime on the double up and the double down, and aside from the ride experience, Heidi the Ride has some good Swiss Alpine theming. There is even a dark ride element right before the return to the station. Wallaby Belgium is no stranger to shuttle coasters, and its Schwarzkopf Shuttle Loop Turbine, formerly CK Underground, is a great one, which comes in at number 9. This shuttle loop is completely enclosed, which enhances the ride experience. It has a great launch, a forceful vertical loop, and some great floater airtime on the spikes. Turbine also has great operations, especially since it only has one train. It is a short ride though, something that the coaster coming in at number 8 is not. And coming in at number 8 is Pegasus Express at Parc Asterix. This Gerstlauer family coaster is easily one of the best family coasters in the world. Pegasus Express has one of the best placements in the park, as it is the very first roller coaster you see when you arrive in the parking lot. And this coaster makes an impression. Pegasus Express also looks amazing once you get into the park, as part of its track flies over this well-placed lake in that section of the park. Located in the Grèce Antique section of the park, Pegasus Express definitely captures the Greek Isle vibe. It is cool that the ride has a general train station theme, which is loosely based on Paris's Gare Montparnasse train station. In addition to the placement in the park and the theming, Pegasus Express has an incredibly enjoyable ride experience. The ride kicks things off with a tire-propelled launch out of the station into a right-hand banked turn. And while this launch isn't punchy, it is a great way to begin the ride. After the first lift hill, you fly over some fun airtime hills with some good changes of direction before climbing up a tire drive lift hill into a Greek temple show building. And this show building is awesome as you come face to face with Medusa before launching backwards into the rest of the ride layout. There is even a nice water effect during that backwards launch. While it does not have the craziest forces, Pegasus Express is still an amazing ride. Its lack of forces holds it back though, a problem that the next coaster does not have. And that coaster is Pulsar, which comes in at number 7. And this Mack Rides Power Splash was a genuine surprise. It was the sleeper hit of the trip. As one of only 5 Power Splashes, Pulsar is a rare credit. And it is not always a guarantee that it will be open, so getting to ride Pulsar was a real treat, and this coaster exceeded expectations. While the queue itself is a hike, the IMAscore soundtrack and light theming definitely make the walk up and around the station to the ride platform worth it. And this ride experience is really cool. While its initial backwards launch is not super forceful, the other 2 launches are quite good. During the forward launch, you get a slight floater airtime pop going over the speed hill and some good floater airtime on the spike. The third launch is where the coaster shines. You get some weak ejector airtime as you go over that speed hill if you are sitting in the front row. After that third launch, you go up another spike, which gives some good floater airtime before plummeting down into the splashdown. And this splashdown is refreshing, especially on warmer days. While Pulsar is certainly a shorter ride, it has an enjoyable ride experience and some surprisingly good airtime. Mack Rides Power Splashes are cool rides, and Pulsar was a pleasant surprise. It was not as surprising as the next ride on this ranking though. And that coaster is Anubis the Ride at Plopsaland de Panne, which comes in at number 6 and just missing the top 5. This Gerstlauer launch coaster packs a real punch. Its initial launch is quite punchy, and the ride builds up speed really quickly. Before you know it, you are flung up out of your seat as you fly over the top hat before diving downwards into the rest of the layout. And this layout is actually quite good and has 3 whippy inversions. And because of the short 3-row 6-passenger trains, Anubis the Ride takes some of its elements with some good speed. While you lose a little bit of speed towards the end of the ride, you still get some good whip as you fly through the final inversion and into the final brakes. Aside from the ride experience, Anubis the Ride has some cool theming. The queue and station are literally housed in a house, which has some great detail, especially on the staircase leading up to the ride platform. Between the ride experience and the elaborate theming, it is no wonder why this ride is a fan favorite at Plopsaland. Despite having one of the best launches we have experienced, Anubis' length holds it back from cracking the top 5. And choosing the top 5 was quite difficult as both of the next 2 coasters are great rides. That said, the number 5 spot goes to Tonnerre de Zeus at Parc Asterix. This large CCI Gravity Group wooden roller coaster is a powerhouse and a lot in the best way possible. Tonnerre de Zeus is an ejector airtime machine with an incredibly long ride duration and some amazing ride elements. The wave turn is smooth and the turns give good lateral, and the Timberliner trains allow for ample airtime on every airtime hill. While it is not the smoothest wooden roller coaster, Tonnerre de Zeus is still an awesome ride, especially for first-time riders. And at a point, Tonnerre de Zeus had an even crazier ride experience. It used to have a backwards-facing seat, which offered an insane ride experience. While we did not experience this backwards-facing seat as the park removed it ahead of the 2024 season, Tonnerre de Zeus is still a great ride and a top-tier roller coaster in Europe, backwards-facing seat or not. From a large wooden roller coaster in France to a Bolliger and Mabillard invert in France, the number 4 spot goes to Osiris at Parc Astérix. This invert is amazing and was easily one of the highlights of our 2024 Europe coaster trip. Osiris has it all. Some of the best theming on any roller coaster, a great layout, incredible positive G-forces, and airtime, which is rare for an invert. This coaster is like Montu and Banshee combined with Kumba. That straight first drop kicks things off amazingly, and the inversions give some good airtime, and the ride experience is quite forceful. And while the front seat is good, the back row is where this coaster shines. There, you will feel all of Osiris's power, making the ride experience much more intense. Aside from the ride experience, Osiris has a cool layout. It flies through tunnels and trenches, which really enhances the overall experience. And this coaster is one of the very first coasters you will see when you arrive at Parc Astérix, which definitely gets you excited for your day. Osiris is easily one of the best inverts in the world and a standout coaster both at Parc Astérix and in Europe. Before we get into the top 3 coasters we rode in Europe this year, here are some honorable mentions. La Machine à Vapeur, a mine train with an insane ejector airtime pop. And Souris Mécanique, a spinning wild mouse with some enjoyable spin. We have now reached the top 3, and coming in at the number 3 spot is the first of 2 Intamin roller coasters we rode in Europe, Toutatis at Parc Astérix. While it has several similarities to Pantheon at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, most notably the swing launch, vertical spike, and zero-G stall, Toutatis has an incredible mix of elements that makes for one crazy ride experience. The initial launch up into that zero-G stall cutback element before the first turnaround is such an awesome way to begin the ride. And the swing launch has some awesome ejector airtime, especially if you are sitting towards the front during the second pass or towards the back during the third pass. While the trim brake on the top hat takes away from the ride just a tad, the rest of Toutatis' layout is phenomenal. The zero-G stall gives some great hang time. The airtime hill before the wave turn packs in some strong ejector airtime, and that last zero-G roll has some good whip and provides an awesome near-miss element. And Toutatis' theming is top-notch. Parc Astérix went all out with this ride. From the outside, the station doesn't even look like a roller coaster station, and from the inside, the station looks incredible, especially with the flashing lights during dispatch. Toutatis definitely gives Parc Astérix that world-class headlining attraction that it needed. But Toutatis is not the best Intamin we rode in Europe. That honor goes to Conda at Walibi, Belgium, which just misses the top spot. This Intamin mega coaster is incredible. It has some of the best airtime on any roller coaster. That twisted first drop gives both ejector airtime and laterals, especially if you are sitting in the very back row on the left side. And that is just the beginning. After that first drop, you fly over an amazing camelback airtime hill packed with sustained ejector airtime, followed by a great outer banked airtime hill. This outer banked airtime hill is like the one on Pantheon at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, only it is much more well executed. The non-inverting Cobra roll has some great lateral airtime, especially coming off of it, and those airtime hills after it are insane. The wall stall wave turn gives some good floater airtime, while the bunny hills on the return trip give some awesome ejector pops all the way back to the final brake run. And Conda has exceptional theming, with one of the coolest entry plazas and stations. It genuinely feels like you are in a remote part of the jungle. And that screech during dispatch leaves you so hyped to ride this incredible roller coaster. As amazing as Conda is, especially after it is warmed up, it does not top the number 1 roller coaster we rode in Europe. And that coaster is a no-brainer. The Ride to Happiness. This coaster is insane. The curved JoJo roll out of the station is an amazing way to begin the ride. That hang time, all while spinning, is awesome. And the first launch is easily one of the best launches in the world. Unlike other mock rides launches, Ride to Happiness's first launch is punchy. This launch also has a little extra kick to it that sends your already spinning cars into an even wilder spin as the train flies up the top hat. From there, the ride to happiness sends you into complete insanity. That main drop is incredible, especially when taken backwards, as you just get yanked down it. After the main drop, you are simply along for the ride. Depending on how balanced your car is, you will fly through the rest of the ride to happiness's layout without any idea which way is up. You might take the 0G roll and the last two inversions as either front flips or back flips or even as barrel rolls. You just never know with this ride. The inversions are just one aspect of the ride, as the ride to happiness's airtime is unbelievable. Flying over those last two bunny hills backwards is one of the best airtime moments in the world. If you are unfamiliar with the ride to happiness's layout, those last airtime hills will send you flying out of your seat, which is awesome. And the onboard audio enhances the ride experience. The Ride to Happiness is a perfect roller coaster and is easily one of the best roller coasters in the world. This coaster is that good, and it definitely lives up to the hype. Europe has some of the best roller coasters in the world, so many of which we definitely want to ride in the coming years. But these are the 15 best among the ones we rode this year. Do you agree with our rankings of these coasters? Let us know in the comments below. For our in-depth reviews about most of these rides, check out our reviews already on the channel. And if you enjoyed this video or are new to the channel, please like and subscribe for more coaster content like this. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more coaster rankings and amusement park content coming soon to Coaster Adventures, and we hope to see you in the next one.